Dear young athletes, it is 6:40 a.m. I'm sitting in my computer thinking about what to write to you, and I am afraid. I'm afraid that my words won't be powerful enough. I fear that everything that is in my heart will not find its way out and have an impact on you.
Wade Davis's story begins in Shreveport, Louisiana, where he grew up the youngest of 3 children. And by the time his family moved to Aurora, Colorado, no one knew the deep-seated truth and the fear Davis would have to live with, hiding a reality that would haunt him for years.
I was a kid that was a huge mama's boy. I was the type of kid that could play football all day long and then come in and watch tapes of Young and the Restless with my parents.
When did football really become an integral part of your life?
I would say around the age of 6 or 7. So my backyard, I had a neighbor's backyard and there was no fence in between it, but there was a fence that kind of went around it. And we would play, I'm not kidding you, 20-on-20 games of football.
What was it like growing up in the South, for one, and then in an extremely religious family, and then, of course, having that secret that you had inside?
It was tough. I really didn't even have understanding that I was gay until my 10th grade in high school. In the church, I used to hear a lot of comments about gay and lesbian individuals. So it was very interesting, really trying to understand, like, how could I exist in this world as a gay man, really knowing what I was, when I grew up hearing.
What was it that happened that you kind of had that realization?
Funny enough, there was a kid in my high school year who I was just like, wow, he's really hot. I remember having that thought and then thinking, that was wrong. Like, I can't think that way. So I remember going home watching kind of Showtime and Cinemax, really trying to convince myself that the feelings that I was having weren't really real. I believed that I would be pushed away by family and friends. My sexuality became my scarlet letter, an invisible badge of shame.
It was that realization that would ultimately come to define the person Davis had to be and who he would eventually become. Davis was a standout defensive back for the 1995 Overland High School team that was a runner-up in the Colorado State Championship game.
Yeah, so there was a kid in high school, and we'll call him Thomas, right? Yeah. And Thomas was really one of the few openly gay kids at my school. So I spent a lot of years bullying Thomas. His strength was so blinding that the only thing that I could do was make fun of it.
Did you ever tell anybody or confide in anybody?
I did not tell a single soul I was gay until, actually saying the words that I'm gay, until I was out of the NFL. I dealt with so much self-hatred. It was really exhausting. The mental power that I used trying to really hide who I was, I can only imagine how much better of an athlete I would have been, if I could have dedicated 30 or 40% more brain power on my sport.
Still chasing down his lifelong dream of becoming a pro football player while fighting through the secret he couldn't share with anyone. Davis rose through the ranks playing his college years at Weber State in Utah between 1997 and 1999 before finally making it all the way to the professional ranks in the NFL and NFL Europe in 2000.
When I was over in NFL Europe, I was in Berlin, and there would be guys in my room, like my hotel room, and I would be on the phone with my male partner, but I would give him a female name, right? So I would call him Stephanie, or I would go to strip clubs, or I would, kind of wear the oversized clothing. I thought that that's what real men did.
When you look at your career and you start getting kind of higher and higher and higher, but you still know you have those feelings, did you kind of find yourself going deeper into the closet?
Oh my God, yes. I was the greatest liar ever, and for someone, and actually I got good at actually remembering the lies that I would tell, because in order for you to tell this wonderful story, you have to make sure it's consistent.
Was there ever a moment where you thought, maybe this would be the day I come out?
I thought that it was not possible. It was something that I was domesticated to believe, like from the age of 7 on up, that football and being gay just didn't mix. And there were certain times when there would be a teammate, I was like, man, I think I could probably tell him, but you just never know. And I think often you make it worse in your head than it actually is. I say all of this in hopes of urging you to look into your heart and find a place only you and I know exists. But you are better than me. I was weak, I was a coward, and I listened to all those voices in my mind that said, you can't be gay. You can't be an athlete and be gay. You can't be a strong black man and be gay. But today, I no longer fear those voices, and they no longer rule my life.
For Wade Davis, the hardest part of being true to himself was facing the demons that have emotionally weighed on his soul. Davis's time came after a flight home to Colorado in 2007 to see his sister Tasha and their mother.
So I first told my sister, right? And my sister and I have always been very, very close. So I flew to Colorado and I told her, and she laughed. She was like, "I'm gonna be the favorite now." And her next comment to me was, "You can't tell mom." You know, she was really, really like, you know, mom is not gonna be able to handle it because you're her golden boy. But I knew at that point I needed to tell my mom. My mother and I went for a walk, and I was in the park with her and my little niece, and I told her, and I said, "I'm gay." And her first comment to me was, "That's an abomination." And her second comment to me was, "You're already black." You know, and it was really powerful to hear my mother really understand that, you know, she knew that being as a black man, I would already have one strike against me, potentially, but then also adding another layer or another multiple oppression on top of me was really hurtful. The next 3 to 4 years were pretty tumultuous. We went through a lot of highs and lows. About a year ago, my mother met my current partner at that time, and things have been really, really great. I had already come to grips with the fact that I was gay, so she needed time too. If it took me 15 years to be okay with being gay, can I at least give her half of that?
You've mentioned some friends, maybe some teammates. How have they all reacted?
I've yet to have one negative experience from my high school, college, or NFL teammates.
The news of Jason Collins, an active NBA player at the time of his coming out, came as a shock to many in the sports world and has opened up new possibilities for gay and lesbian athletes.
The real impact, I think, is for kids to actually see a gay NFL or NBA or any of the other two major sports. You know, just the fact that someone can go, "Wow, that person's gay and is playing on Sundays."
Now, Wade is an ambassador to the gay community. His coming out to the world and his story serves as an inspiration to gay and lesbian athletes. Currently, the 36-year-old works with youths in the You Can Play program and got his start in this area working out of the Hetrick Martin Institute in New York City, where he resides, counseling LGBTQ individuals.
Probably the first year I was there, they didn't even know that I was an ex-player. And a good friend of mine named Sid Ziegler had been asking me to write a story about me for years and years. And I was like, no, there's no real story there. Me being a bench warmer, a guy that got cut and re-signed and cut and re-signed, that my story could really affect change. And Sid was like, well, what if we talk about your story along with the work that you're really doing to highlight the young people who you're working with every day? And I said, now that's a story that needs to be told. During my coming out process, yes, it happened 11 years too late. I heard from multiple teammates and family members who all expressed great sadness because I did not believe in them enough to give them the opportunity to still love me. The pain of living a lie may seem like it will only last while you're playing, but the truth is my scars may never fully heal. Don't let the love of your sport overshadow the need to love yourself. That's the truest thing I've ever wrote.